Tell me about your role at Aish.
So officially, my role at Aish, the title is Director of Strategic Partnerships. But really what it means is that I'm responsible for all major gifts in relationships within Aish, be that globally, locally, wherever that is.
How did you get into the fundraising space in the first place?
No one grows up wanting to be a fundraiser. But if they told me that if I could grow up and schmooze for a living, I would have easily gone for that aspect. So I think I was born for this part. My first employment where I was working for NCSY, I was really running programming. We got to a point where we were running great programming, but we didn't have enough money for it. So they said, okay, if you want to run more stuff, then you have to fundraise. I ended up fundraising a little bit. And then from there, it was more like, if you want to stay in the non-profit space and support your family, fundraising is the way to go. Not everyone likes it. I happen to love it, so it works out pretty well. From Denver, Colorado, where I was running NCSY over there, Rabbi Ben Goncher, our executive director, who runs our department, right at Aish globally, and the CEO, Rabbi Stephen Berg, they reached out and asked me if I was willing to come over and help them in the development department. That was the dream come true.
People are very familiar with the yeshiva side of Aish, but Aish is known as the Jewish embassy to the world. How did the events of October 7th affect the work that Aish does?
It really helped us and propelled us into a whole nother level. Before October 7th, we were running pretty well. We have our website, aish.com. We have our social media handles, right? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all those places. And it was running well. Once the war hit, we were seeing an uptick in all aspects of Aish. So you have the yeshiva, that's great. But everyone was coming to aish.com. Everyone was coming to Instagram. Everyone was coming to TikTok, YouTube. Everyone was looking for meaning. So Aish happens to provide meaning. Our content teams started to produce what they were always doing, just on a much faster scale, producing more content. We've seen over 570 million views as of November of 23. The engagement on those is 43 million. Across platforms, we're reaching about 3.5 million people that subscribe. Whenever we post something, they get our information. People are looking for meaning and they're looking to reconnect, and Aish is there for it.
How did the events of October 7th affect your work as a fundraiser?
It actually affected us a lot. There was donor fatigue. It wasn't like our supporters decided, hey, no, we're not going to give you, we're going to give it to the war. They pushed it off. The whole Jewish world rallied around the war. And we saw Achdus like we've never seen it before. So it wasn't like, okay, no, we're not giving to Aish. We're giving to the war. And then we're still going to give to you guys. It just happens to be. It's not going to be now. It'll be a little bit later. Our CEO went and spoke about the war in New York. There was a supporter there that said, I'm giving to the war. But at some point, the war is going to end, God willing. Everyone that I'm supporting now is not necessarily going to be here after the war. So who's going to make this change post-war? Who's going to be there that's going to educate the future of the Jewish people so that this doesn't happen again? Our CEO, Rabbi Berg, said, that's what we're here for. Aish will be here post-war. So when people need help, we're still here.
When the war broke out here at Cosmatch, there was the same dilemma. Are organizations running their annual campaigns now, or is all the money going to go to the war? But really the conclusion was that, no, the nonprofits are the ones that need to stay alive. In general, do you guys depend more on major gifts or crowdfunding?
So shout out to Cosmatch, because we do use you guys for our crowdfunding campaign, which will be March 31st, April 2nd. We raised about $4 million there. Yes, we have our crowdfunding, but that's not majority of our giving, and majority of it comes from our major partners.
You meet with probably the most successful people on a daily basis. If there's one lesson that you can take away from spending time with them, what would that be?
So yes, I happen to be very blessed with the fact that I can do that. Aish carries a big enough name where people do meet with us because the brand name is Aish. I always think that if I go somewhere else, right, which I'm not planning on for a long, long time, but if I did, does it carry the same weight? And it doesn't. Rev Noach Weinberg, our founder, whose yard site is actually Sunday, and this is Aish's 50th year, carries a lot of weight. And because of that, we get into the rooms with a lot of important people. And as you said, some of the wealthiest people in the world, but most importantly, givers. There's a difference between being wealthy and being a giver. So philanthropists are ones that are giving. One of the lessons that I can take away from that is that time is probably our most precious treasure. They are very limited in time. But if they value you, then they'll give you the time that you need. There's no such thing as the elevator pitch anymore. You go in, some guys like to hear the stories, and some guys do not. So you go in, you talk about what you need, you ask them for 20 minutes, ask them for 30 minutes. They'll give it to you if they see value. And at the end of the day, it's all about the relationship. Every friendship starts somewhere. So as long as you have that friendship, as long as you create that two-way communication, and there's value, right? Yes, I have money, but what am I going to do with that money? If you can create value for them, they want to give it somewhere. They want to give it to a good cause. They want to invest it nicely, right? They're investors. Invest in the stock market, they invest in the Jewish people. Are you going to be the one they invest in, or is it going to go somewhere else?
If you were to start a nonprofit from scratch, what's the first thing you would do?
First thing I would do would go through my contacts list, right, and find those people that I trust the most and ask them if they want to join me. In my previous job, I created teams. I didn't take the best people. I took the ones that formulated the best team. If they're all alphas, they're not going to get along. You're not going to enjoy working with them. You're not going to trust them because they're all going to try to beat up on each other. You create the right team, get the right people on the bus, and they're all sitting in the right seats, you're going to be successful.
Our CEO, Joseph Bornstein, always likes to say that. That's his famous line.
Yeah, when Rabbi Berg was leaving NCSY and I was starting, that's the one thing he left us with was that book.
Looking ahead, who is your favorite fantasy football prospect for 2024?
Okay, I don't like to call anything before the draft because you don't know where people are going. If you were to go with a few sleepers, one, Kyle Pitts from the Atlanta Falcons, Dotson from the Commanders, Josh Harris, Marjorie Harris. It's a dark horse. He was supposed to be a sleeper last year. He messed that one up, so that didn't work out well. But if you want to go really deep here, Dylan Loeb, I think his name is, New Hampshire running back in the draft this year. Danny Woodhead, PPR type. So that's the one you go with. So, but I don't want to talk about it too much, then people will start stealing my stuff.